For the Design Review Board of August 2nd. If we could please start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we'll start first with attendance.
So noted.
Great. And for public comment, if you're here to talk about any of the items and you're neither the applicant or the presenter, please come on up now and you'll have a chance to speak. Okay, I'll go ahead and close public comment. Next, we have approval of the minutes from July 19th. We've all had a chance to look them over. Unless there's changes, I'd look for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Clerk Brooks.
Support.
Support by Trustee Burnett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That does pass. Now we have new items. We go to signage. We have 1924 South Telegraph Road, Everwise Credit Union. And if the applicant wants to come up, we'll start with Wade, and then you can join in.
Thank you. So we have a request from Everwise Credit Union located in the B3 zone district. It is located within the shopping center here. It is the request for a wall sign. As you see here, the proposed or the requested wall sign is 19.22 square feet in size with a logo, the circle, it's kind of hard to see up there, it's 0.63 square feet. This is a fully compliant sign within the B3 zoning district for signage. We worked very hard with the applicant to get their logo size into a compliant stage, and they were able to do so. So this is a fully compliant sign, as I mentioned. Again, in the shopping center you see here, T-Mobile is on one end down here, and this sign would be going right there. Again, apologize, kind of hard to see, but right there. T-Mobile's down here, which is about right in this location within the shopping center. Again, location would be there. And that's a brief overview of the request.
Do you want to add anything? Just let us know your name, where you're from.
I'm Kevin from Metro Detroit Signs, the sign company, the applicant. And I don't really have much to add other than what Wade said. I believe it's a conforming sign. I doubt there are any issues, but if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
No, I have no questions.
We love compliant signs. Those are the easiest.
Thank you.
So unless there are any further discussion, I'd look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve as submitted.
Motion by Trustee Barnett.
Support.
Support by Clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Good to
Have a
see you
great
again.
day.
All right. Have a good one.
Next, we go on to special events. We have 6735 South Telegraph Road with the Fisher Federation. Again, if the applicant wants to come on up after Wade.
Again, as mentioned, we are at 6735 South Telegraph in the 01 Office Zone District. The request is for a special event to be held on August 8th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. The location is behind the office building, right in this area in the parking lot. There will be a live band as well as a meal provided as a thank you to the supporters of the organization. There is, as I mentioned, a tent, but also a temporary generator, both of which will require a building permit. And there is approximately, or there's no more than 150 persons projected to attend the event. And I know the applicants in the process of reaching out to the surrounding neighbors and the two other office buildings in the area, as there is a live band music for the evening, and I'm told it's going to be from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. is the music. But again, they are working on those notifications. The homeowners associations immediately adjacent are inactive, so they have agreed to go ahead and reach out to those individual residents to make them aware of the event. That said, I did mention that does require a building permit for the tent size as well as the temporary generator, and I know they are in process of supplying that information to our building department. Here is the schematic of the tent. There'll be some tables and some food service, and here's the generator, which is immediately adjacent to that main office building on the property. Here are some current existing pictures of where the tent and generator will be located back in here. Behind this tree line and this wall is where the residential single family is located. And again, just a picture of their parking lot. The tent will be in this area here. So I will.
You want to go ahead and list your name and where you're from?
Hi, my name is Marshall Germany. I am the Special Events Coordinator with Boss Structures and Events, located at 43902 Woodward, Bloomfield Township. We will be the tent installers for the Federation, the Fisher Federation. I do have two ladies here that will represent the Federation as well, if you have any additional questions. But we will be installing a 50 by 60 E-span tent. That's a little larger than an average pole tent or frame tent. So they do have the clearance for it. We have the full application that we're ready to complete once we conclude the session here. And we are prepared with notices to the community. We have a letter that we've drafted that we've sent Mr. Wade a copy of as well, that we will present to the surrounding neighbors, notifying them of the event, that they will have a two-piece band, saxophone, piano, that will be amplified through one speaker. Nothing excessively loud, but at least they'll be notified.
And part of the notification was actually they were going to write, like we always require them to write in if they're for it or against it. So will they have those back maybe by Monday? Because I know we reached out yesterday to the group. We had somebody reach out in hopes they could get it started, because in the application, it does say we have to have written approval from the surrounding
And
neighbors.
there will be contact information, I'm assuming, in the
Correct.
letter if there's
So
concerns.
that you could supply the letters.
Yeah, yeah.
So we will get the written, because again, it has to be received that they're okay with it, because it's in the application if there's music or off-site ballet shuttles and such.
Okay.
Which you don't have that, but you do have the music.
We do. And we could actually redraft that form as like a signature.
Yeah,
to
like a
collect
yes or-
signatures upon
yeah.
arrival to the house, and then we can present that to you. So we can definitely provide you with that.
Yeah, because if you can get it by Monday to them with the other stuff, then that should be, that's enough time for us to look them over.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I think there's 5 residential properties and then the 2 commercial.
Are there that
were
many?
immediately
Okay.
adjacent.
For some reason I thought there
There's
was
just a
only
few
3.
houses behind it on the other side of the wall, 3, and then the commercial on each side. And I understand the notification, it's a little bit more,
Would we normally need those commercial that far? Or
no,
would they just need those 3?
just the houses, I would
Right.
think. Yeah, and the other thing too is, I'm really, since there's not a homeowners association, it's a little more problematic as far as getting approval. It's going to be a hit or miss to get the neighbors, and I'm less concerned about the noise only because it's, 5:30 to 6:30 is the music, and I'll tell you, there's more noise at my house from my 2 neighbors with their pools and their kids on a daily basis than they're going to be at this event. I'm familiar with the building and the events they put on there, and I'm sure it's going to be very subdued. So I don't have a concern about that.
I would just say those 3. I don't think you would need those commercial ones. They're far enough away.
Right.
They wouldn't likely be
They're not
still
gonna be
at
impacted.
work. Yeah. I would say it's just those 3.
Okay.
Maybe you can even reach out to them about the Fisher Federation or Foundation.
I will definitely do so.
Always good to teach people about somewhere they can be philanthropy.
Absolutely.
Are there any questions?
Nope.
I don't have any problem with the event. I mean, given its time frame, it's minimally disruptive, if disruptive at all. Quiet with a saxophone and a piano.
It's the 3 speakers. That's
Well, it
what-
says, you said 1 now.
No, it's 3 speakers in the
There's 3's
application.
in the application, but you did say just
One
one
speaker.
speaker.
Okay.
Amplifying through
Yeah.
one speaker. Is that correct,
Okay.
Melissa?
And will the speakers be directed towards the building or towards the wall where the homes are? So
So for-
facing east, west, north, or? Okay, so that's helpful. So that's less impactful on the,
The demographic of the people attending this event are from the late 60s to
Yeah.
Oh, if there weren't speakers, and you wouldn't even have to deal with this. There's only 2 reasons that we ever have to have written. Otherwise, you wouldn't even have to deal with that. And that's why we're trying to limit it to only the 3, not even the other, you mentioned 5 and others. They wouldn't even be impacted.
Yeah, when I mentioned 5, I was looking at this property here and this one here, but I mean,
No,
that's fine with
I think
3.
3's enough, yeah.
Sure.
Don't you think that's
Yeah, just
more
3
limited?
back at the wall. So I'm ready to make a motion, unless there's more discussion,
Do you have any more?
that we approve, subject to the permits being the 2 permits await, right?
Your building permit for the
Building
tent and
intent
electrical.
permit, and making the effort to contact the homeowners, and if they're there, you get approval. If they're not there, there's nothing you can do, but making the effort.
To receive it by Monday?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
We have a
Or
motion?
sooner.
I mean, no, I meant to our staff by
Yes,
Monday.
yeah.
Because that way it gives
Right.
them Friday
Right.
when we're not around.
Well, just to be clear, what they're doing is seeking comments. They may not receive comments by Monday.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I support that motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by trustee Barnett and support by clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. Good luck at the event.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right, so next we have 3700 West Maple with the Bank of America landscape plan. You can come on up whenever you're ready to.
3rd time?
So at the request of the Design Review Board, the applicants went back to work with the
It's an
bank
opportunity
to add additional landscaping at the intersection of Losser and Maple to mirror more so the other 3 corners of that intersection with regard to landscaping quantity and heights. The applicant has come back with a revised landscape plan where they have added some additional trees right at the corner. They've added some additional shrubs and tree here. And then this is the Gulf View lot and Maple, the empty lot where they've added some additional grasses and bushes as well. You can see this is what it looked like at the last meeting. This yellow area, they've gone in and planted a little more dense landscaping here, and in an effort to increase greenery at that particular section of the corner. Their intent is to enhance the southern frontage with a combination of evergreen and deciduous plantings, maintain visual surveillance into the bank property, and provide a connection to the shopping center to the southeast through similar plant materials and patterns. There are some extenuating circumstances here due to the presence of overhead and underground utility lines. So the applicant has provided what they feel is feasible in terms of landscaping with this request. I do have an overhead that you all have at your dais seats. A bit more of a visual here that's being proposed. You can see the actual corner right here with Losser Road and Maple. They've increased the landscaping at that corner. Their monument ground sign is right here, and then they've added some landscaping here, and then connecting the landscaping to the lot on Gulf View Drive to make it more of a continuous landscape buffer along that frontage. That said, I would invite the applicant to
There you go. Yeah, thanks for that, Wade. We're confident this iteration adds some more character to the site in addition to simply maintaining it. We also believe that it addressed some of the specific areas that we discussed in detail last meeting, as well as some of the subsequent emails and reviews. Also with us today, we've got George Ostrowski from Nowak and Frouse, the landscape architect who crafted this. So if we have any more details on the technical nature, the design intents, the site review we did of the adjacent corners, we can certainly add that in as well. but otherwise, that was it.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I do. I have a couple questions. The grass, so on the maple facing side, both of the side lot and the corner, it shows low bushes and grasses. Are those matching? So the corner here of Gloucester and Maple, the bushes and grasses are matching the bushes and grasses that are along the side yard on Gulfview?
George, could you maybe elaborate for us a bit?
It's easy when they do a rendering from street level.
The shrubs are proposed along Maple. The intent is to match the materials that are at the southeast corner at the other shopping center. So it's feathery grass and some shrub roses and things like that, so that the whole corner then becomes, looks similar in terms of the plant palette that's being used.
Okay, great. And what are the trees? It looks like there's 4 additional trees?
Yeah,
Can't.
there was some comments in some of the back and forth emails that the trees on the southeast corner were upright oaks. I believe they're in fact an upright maple. So what we've got is we're proposing Armstrong maples, which stay, relatively upright because we still need to maintain, visibility to the sign that's proposed also. The larger trees on the rendering are existing trees currently on the site. The only new trees are the 3 trees proposed along Maple. Everything else is existing on the site currently.
You said
Just those
3?
Just
I'm sorry,
Okay.
4.
Isn't it 4? Okay,
Oh,
I
that
think
one
this one
too,
too. Okay. And the 2 similar looking circles, are those not new trees as well on the side lot right near the parking lot there?
Well, yeah.
They were originally- they were in before.
Interior to the parking, yeah, correct.
And previously, there was a conversation about cleaning up the side. In the process of doing this, there's a lot of cleanup that needs to occur with regard to vines and buckthorn and things like that.
Absolutely, yeah. That was on the prior side, and that's still planned.
Any other questions?
No other questions?
Any questions?
The other part of it, just making sure that in the motion, we include any damaged or diseased trees will be replaced, that it's part of it.
Do you want to make a motion?
I'll be happy to make the motion. I'll make a motion that we approve the most present plan as presented. That will include any damaged or diseased tree material will be replaced.
Motion by trustee Barnett. Support by clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you for your patience on this
Yeah,
one.
thanks for working hard on it.
It'll look wonderful. Okay, so next we have 2445 Franklin Road, Alexander Bogaerts and Associates. Did I pronounce that correctly? Is it Bogaerts? Mm-hmm. Okay.
We are, oh, 1 second. We are located in the O1 office zone at the corner of Square Lake and Franklin Road. The applicant, here's the existing building parking lot on the lot. The proposal is to install 2 additional generators for use of the building. One located in the frontage of Franklin Road, and the other located in the side yard over here on Square Lake. I want to mention that the generator on the Franklin Road frontage does require Zoning Board of Appeals approval. They are scheduled to appear next Tuesday for this approval for the generator in the front yard. This generator back here is compliant with our new ordinance in the side yard, and they have enough width for that to be located in that location. Again, here's the plan view. I apologize, it's hard to see again, but can't even see my pointer. This is top left picture is the view of the building on the site. You can see the ZBA required generators located in that area there. And then on the back side is the other generator. It is next to some existing air conditioners, and it is fully screened from view already, and the applicants have done a terrific job in making sure that both of these units would be screened from public view. I do have some pictures supplied by the applicant showing the existing landscaping on site. I want to point out that in this picture 6 right here is the existing, this is on the east side, the side yard on Square Lake. The existing air conditioner unit is there. It's well screened already. The generator would be placed in this same area. And then the other location being right there at the frontage. And I provided you the narrative of the applicant and the setbacks to the generator itself, and the specifications of the generator are also included for your review.
Anybody have any questions on that one?
No.
No?
Just to make sure, I can't really tell from the pictures, but the generator itself is completely screened. You already indicated that it is completely screened from
It
both.
will be.
Both of them will be.
Will be. And I have larger plans if you want to see the larger plans, but they're the same that was up here.
Did you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Good afternoon, members of the board. I'm Mark Abernatha with Alexander Bogaerts, the architects. I'm going to put a little twist on what we're proposing. When we first started designing the project, obviously we have single family to our east. And so we thought splitting the generators would be a good way to go from the standpoint of sound. We talked with our electrical contractor, and he didn't give us any indication that there'd be any issues with locating the generator that we have shown on the west. Since we submitted our package, he has great concern in terms of being able to actually install that generator. He's basically saying he can't do it. So our preference, and we had shown on the drawings an alternate dashed location. I don't know if you can zero in on. If you look at on the east side, right here is the one that we were showing. We showed a second generator here. My understanding is that by right, we can locate both those generators on the right side. The Generac is at 67 decibels, I believe the ordinance is 70. And so we'd prefer to have the plan approved with those two generators on the right side. Initially, we thought there may be an ordinance that required us to add those decibels together, which is one of the reasons why we submitted them separated. But between the electrical contractor saying it's going to be virtually impossible to put it on that left side, and we talked to the electrical inspector, or one of the inspectors, who said that the township doesn't cumulatively add those decibels, that as long as each generator is at 70, you can have multiple generators over there. So that would be our preference.
So let me clarify, you're looking to put both generators in the side yard on Square Lake?
Correct. So this is the east side yard. That would be
Right.
the one generator just north of the AC unit. The other piece of equipment was the transformer that was showing up in that. And we're proposing evergreen screening here, and we would just continue that over here. Currently, there's the existing screen wall that's here, and then we have some very large, tall arborvitaes that are on that side. So that would be our preference as to what we get approved.
Both going to Square Lake Road frontage, is that
These
what I'm
would be fully
understanding?
screened, both of them?
I think I heard him say that it was to extend that.
The ZBA.
What was, so both are going to be fully screened? Is
Yes.
that what you just said? Okay.
Yes.
The only ZBA required would be for the Franklin Road frontage.
So they're not asking for that anymore?
Correct.
Okay.
That was my question.
Wait, can you clarify the microphone?
Like, does it change the notice? You haven't already noticed the ZBA.
So they're requesting that the unit in the Franklin Road frontage would no longer be needed, therefore they would no longer need the Zoning Board of Appeals approval if they put both units in the side yard on Square Lake.
They wouldn't need any approval, okay.
So we would just consider that a withdrawal from the ZBA and not hear it.
So it would save not having to go to ZBA, and you taught me something new today, because I figured there'd be a formula of 1 point something if you put them together, and if we don't have that issue.
No.
And they're fully screened?
Yes.
Anyone have any questions?
No, long as there's not a sound issue with their ordinance, then I would make a motion that we approve the revised plan.
Motion by trustee Barnett,
I'll support.
support by clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Great, thank you
Great,
very much.
Thank you. All right. Do we have a waiting list so we can move somebody up on the ZBA?
You have to go now. Oh,
That's what I said.
What you're saying, yeah. The notice has already gone out though, but.
All right. Next, we have 6450 South Telegraph Road, Hogans Plaza loading, for a loading space. And we'll start again with Wade, and then if any applicant wants to come.
Sure. This request is within the B3 zone district to the shopping center with the sub shop, forgotten the name.
Jersey Mike's.
Jersey Mike's, where U.S. Mattress was formerly. This is a request that Sherwin-Williams will be occupying that tenant space. So the proposed exterior modifications to the building are as a result of the requirements for Sherwin-Williams. So the existing walls are to remain. There will, however, be a change out on the rear facade of an overhead door will be installed for delivery purposes, and an associated new concrete delivery ramp will also be installed for delivery purposes. This is a rendition of the overhead door that will be installed, and I can show you real quick what the door looks like today. This is the door that would now turn into an overhead, okay? And then with regard to the ramp, you can see an area marked out right here where there would be a small ramp into the door. Now the ramp itself is proposed as 11 by 8 with a 3% slope down. We did clear this with the fire department, as this is a fire access route. So long as it is flush and it is proposed to be feathered to grade, that the trucks can still drive over that, there is no issue with regard to fire. So here is another schematic of the ramp itself, the overhead door being here, and it would feather taper down at a 3% grade, which is sufficient for traveling over the ramp itself. So again, just some pictures of the existing facade today. This door would become an overhead, and then the ramp would be located right in front as it's marked out in this area right here.
Hi, yes, Reed Cooksey with Stonefield Engineering and Design. Don't really have much to add from what Wade said there, but just looking to do some tenant retrofits. The ramp itself will be in that drive aisle, but it will be feathered and sloped in a manner that won't really impact any sort of site circulation, and in that way, more of a flush condition for the loading zone there.
Any questions?
Nope.
No? If not, I'd look for a motion.
This does not require ZBA or anything like that? This,
It does not.
I'm prepared to make a motion to, approve as submitted.
Motion by
Support.
clerk Brooks, support by trustee Barnett. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Really
That
appreciate the
passes.
time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next we have 6201 Adams Road, T-Mobile, for their central equipment.
So we have a request to add 2 cabinets to the existing mechanical area for T-Mobile at the Adams Road facility, 6201 Adams Road. And you see in this picture, this is the ramp to 75, and this is the complex right here. We are asked to look at and decide on a air scale cabinet as well as a proposed PPC cabinet. I can let the applicant explain what those will be, but there is no expansion to the fenced area. It's just an addition of some additional cabinets. You can see better in the existing photos of what that fenced-in area looks like, and there will just be the addition of 2 more cabinets to house mechanical equipment to operate the service. This is the picture from Adams Road. You can see it is well screened by vegetation and existing building. So this would not require any zoning board of appeals approval either. So just the addition of 2 cabinets.
Perfect. Did you want to add anything? No? All right. Are there any questions?
No.
Ready
All
to,
right.
no
For a
questions.
motion?
Make a motion that we approve as submitted.
Motion by trustee Barnett,
Support.
support by clerk Brooke. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you very much. Next, we have our site plan for 3951 West Maple Road for Oakland Hills Country Club.
And I'm going to present this one. Can everybody hear me? Is my mic on?
I have goodies too, if we want to
Oh,
look.
boy. Oh, do you want to present something? You have something to add to the computer? We can add it.
Great.
Great. So I'll go ahead and get started and give an overview of the proposal, and then certainly the team for Oakland Hills is here to answer any specific questions or details. So I'm just going to kind of go through, highlight some of the basics. It's a rather large proposal, as we're all familiar with. Oakland Hills Country Club is proposing several new site improvements to their south course. As part of this, it includes the construction of a new clubhouse, which is approximately 110,236 square feet. It includes repurposing and expanding the first T building, which is known as the Lifestyle Building, which is approximately 16,853 square feet. And also the replacement of various maintenance buildings and structures to a new greens and grounds building, which is approximately 39,900 square feet. It also includes related parking and site improvements, enhanced landscaping and lighting. As we're aware, the south course that we're talking of today is off West Maple Road between Telegraph and Losser. It's on the south side. Specifically, we're speaking about the south side of Maple Road. The property itself is zoned as R2, single-family residential, in which within our zoning ordinance, we do classify country clubs under section 42-4.10 as special land uses within the R2 one-family district. So this is a special land use within the residential district. So within our ordinance, we do have provisions that do pertain specifically to golf courses, one of which has to do with any use developed requiring a structure shall have a structure so located on the site not to be closer than 200 feet from the lot line of any adjacent residential land. So if we're looking up here on your screen, if we're looking towards the far right, just past that dark pavement which is being shown, beyond that there is a single-family residential lot which is owned by Oakland Hills Country Club. However, the setback is only 50 feet. As opposed to the 200 feet that's required within our zoning code. So that will require a variance. So that would be the first variance as it pertains to country club uses within single-family residential zoning. Ingress and egress is going to continue to remain off West Maple Road, and it does meet the required right-of-way width of 120 feet, which is also a requirement within our zoning code as it pertains to country clubs. The existing main entrance, which is located off Maple Road, which you can see up there on your screen, closer towards the left side of your screen, they do include, there is going to be it's going to remain the same location. There will be some general reconfiguring with the parking lot, as well as some enhancements, which include some additional parking spaces, landscaping, lighting, a new guard shack with gate, and the existing driveway near the current maintenance operations, which is further to the far right of your screen, is also going to be will be improved. The existing driveways will have to be improved to meet Oakland County road standards. So any changes or improvements to those existing curb cuts, as highlighted in that dark pavement area on your screen to the right of the screen, will require permits by the Oakland County Road Commission. Maple Road frontage is abutting the main parking lot. I just want to note that the existing, there is a fence, a 6-foot-high fence that currently runs the parameter of the property of the entire south course. But specifically, we're talking about, for the sake of discussion today, specifically, there's a higher viewpoint, if you will, from the general public from Maple Road. So just highlighting what the current proposal is regarding fencing. I'm going to go over that as I go through my proposal. But currently, from Oak Hills, which is towards your far left, as you travel to the east towards the main entrance, that is currently has existing deciduous shrubbery on the chain link fence. And it is noted that any supplemental plantings shall be added to further screen any gaps or dead plantings to be placed in kind, and size to offer continuous deciduous vegetation to screen. So upon site visit, if you were to go out there and take a look at the fence, you will see, obviously, the fence and the vegetation have been there for a long period of time. And there is some deciduous trees that are planted in the area that do currently provide some green screening of more of a deciduous nature. We've also noted that there is some fencing fabric that is located along the fence on portions of Oak Hills, along Maple, and we are asking and requiring that any fence fabric that is in disrepair would be replaced as required. In terms of parking itself and the requirement as it relates to this use, the site plan and traffic impact study that was provided by the applicant was reviewed by a traffic engineer and do find conformance with the ordinance. Specifically within the paved parking area, you can see towards the left of your screen, which is to service mainly the clubhouse. You're looking at 351 paved parking spaces that are shown on the south course site plan. There's also going to be a new parking field which is more in the center of the screen, which has the clouding around it. That is going to provide 99 parking spaces available, and that will, the 99 parking spaces, are in the parking lot across the street on the north course. My apologies. So we've got 351 paved parking spaces shown on the south course with an additional 99 parking spaces available on the north course. The main parking lot, which is in front of the clubhouse, will provide 253 parking spaces. And the new valet parking, which was the area I was just speaking of, which is clouded, that area is newly proposed, which will run parallel to a new service drive that will be provided to serve valet parking only. So we do not anticipate any increased usage of that parking lot for the general membership. It will be specific to valet parking in accordance to the applicant. That parking space, the new valet parking lot, will provide 72 parking spaces with 6 EV charging stations. If we're moving a little bit further down towards the right, I don't know if we can shift the screen, Wade, can you slide the bar over to the right? Thank you. Okay, so on the far right is that single-family residential building that I spoke of, where the applicant will be seeking a 150-foot variance to not be 200 feet from an immediately residential lot. So I just wanted to point that out. So we'd be measuring it from the corner of the new maintenance building to the lot line of the single-family residential. So I just want to point that out. So in addition to the clubhouse, there's also a proposal to construct a new greens and maintenance building, which will also provide its own parking field, which you can see, which is located in the rear of the proposed greens building. To the left of it, kind of in that darker shaded parking area, is a proposal for some outdoor storage bins, which are going to be used to store various landscaping materials that are used by members of the maintenance team for maintenance of the golf course. So as I stated earlier, there will be that new paved service drive, which will extend parallel to West Maple Road, which you can see highlighted in the gray as it runs parallel to Maple Road. Thank you, Wade. And that will be the drive aisle in which they'll access the proposed valet parking. In addition to the site, you can see near the main entrance leading over to the 4 paddleball courts, you can see some pedestrian walkways, which are also being added to allow for better pedestrian access and safer access in the public areas. Also, there is a golf cart pathway, which is to remain as is. In talking about the landscaping itself, the landscape has been reviewed by our landscape architect and does meet the intention of our zoning code. They do note that there is a required, due to tree removal, which is being proposed, they are required to replace a total of, I don't have the exact number, I have it somewhere. Thank you. In addition to decorative trees and shrubs and ornamental perennial plantings being provided on site, the landscape plan does show a total of 1,236 inches of replacement trees. So that is in accordance with our tree ordinance. Anytime that you're removing a tree based on whether or not it's a landmark tree, based on the health rating of the tree and the caliper, that determines what the required replacement value is. The applicant does exceed on premises the required replacement value with 1,190 being required. So 1,190 required with 1,236 being proposed. In addition, I will note that they are adding some additional evergreen plantings. From the cart bridge, which is located up on the screen here, the cart bridge is located here. From the cart bridge traveling east, they are proposing to add near the Greens and Grounds building, which is further in this area down here, they are proposing to add a total of 137 8-foot-high arborvitae trees, which will be planted inside of the existing fence line along the West Maple Road frontage. That's actually, I believe, do we have the landscape plan, Wade? Can you pop the landscape plan?
You may have memorized this, huh?
Before this part.
Worked with a little bit?
It's
Facing to know better, I think keep going, keep going.
past all the fencing stuff.
Oh, there you go.
There we go, okay. So, okay, this is good, thank you, Wade. So in this area here, you're seeing all these small circles that are running from the paddle court area across. These represent the 137 8-foot-high arborvitae trees that are going to be planted inside the existing fence. And then as we move further, inside the existing fence. And then also as we move down towards then you see there's a slight gap here where they've indicated that there's existing vegetation which is to remain. And then as we move further to this curb cut, Wade, can you go back up? Thank you. That down, there you go, thank you. A little bit more, thank you. So you can see that they're adding some additional vegetation along here and past that curb cut. Just below this area here, which is immediately east of that new proposed valet parking area, which you can see they are adding parking lot trees and curbing inside of it. They are proposing their detention basin, so that's where that will be located. So as we're moving further to the east from this drive aisle entrance, you will see a proposal for additional plantings along here. And then we come to that third curb cut, which is the furthest to the east, which will then provide access to the Greens and Grounds building. And in this area here, they are adding an additional 44 8-foot-high Norway spruce trees that are proposed along the front lot line abutting the West Maple Road sidewalk, so we can get in a little more detail. I know they have their landscape architect here as well that can answer any questions related to that. So I just wanted to show what the intended plantings are. It is kind of interesting because you'll notice that as part of the legal description, this area down here represents where the property line limits are, and then the legal description actually jumps up here where then now you can see this lot line along the top of your screen here. So therefore, because of that jogging out of that legal description, it does allow for that additional vegetation to be located within that area. So that's a little bit unique. They're also proposing the spruces to go around the corner of the building as to add for any screening or visibility from maple. They have provided in here a cut sheet which does show the view from a pedestrian that would be standing on the north side of Maple Road, and the visibility, and you can keep going, Wade, because that's right where we're at. Thank you, that's perfect right there. So they do show, if you're standing on the opposite side of Maple Road and viewing from the north to the south, that with the intended vegetation. However, I will note that they do highlight in this area that they're calculating this at a 2-foot per year growth. So the intention in the proposal is to install 8-foot high arborvitae, but I believe that this representation is slightly taller because they're calculating the growth over the course of a few years. So I just wanted to point that out to you and have an applicant an opportunity to respond to that.
About why it's not being screened to the normal height of blocking right away.
Correct. So let's see. Also, in addition, if we could go back to the site plan for just a moment, Wade. There is a proposed change to the what they refer to as the lifestyle building. Keep going. That's probably good. There you go. Okay. So just to the east of the main entrance, there's a lifestyle building, which is located in this area here. They are asking to remove, they have like an existing portico, like a temporary portico, which is of more of a canvas type of material. They're asking to remove that, and they're asking to do a slight modification in addition on the south elevation.
That would be the west elevation.
The west elevation, my apologies.
And
So
it's actually a structure, a portico structure.
the portico structure. So the portico structure is going to be removed to allow for a modification to that building. And I do want to point out, because they are asking to do more of a gable-styled roof on that building, that they will need a variance for exceeding the permitted height. So it's pretty interior to the site, and the west elevation would be facing interior into the property. But I did want to note that. There's also a new area that is proposed just immediately. Wait, if you could just slide over just to hear more. Thank you. Oh, I guess it doesn't show it on this plan. So, a little more, thank you. Okay, thank you. So in the area that's immediately just to the east of the cart bridge, there is a proposal to install a 8-foot high retaining wall, which would be located near the northerly lot line. Due to the grade change, that 8-foot masonry screen wall should provide screening for the ground-mounted mechanicals, as well as a dumpster enclosure that they're proposing to add in that already. It currently exists as a dumpster enclosure area, but they're looking to expand that and add some utilities. Any ground-mounted mechanicals located within the front yard will require a variance. But with the 8-foot screen wall and the vegetation and the fencing, there is an opportunity to screen that so that there'll be no visibility from the adjacent neighbors.
And the masonry wall is screened from,
Correct, and I believe you can talk to that too in terms of the height of it versus grade. There should be no visibility of that from grade. There should be no visibility from the exterior of that wall due to the drop down. A fencing plan has been included in the site plan documents that identify that any or all barbed wire, which is around the perimeter of the site, would have to be removed from the existing fencing, which is part of phase 2. I just want to note that should the removal of the barbed wire result in the removal of any existing vegetation, it will be replaced in kind vegetation to continue the existing deciduous vegetation. The chain link fencing will be reworked along West Maple Road to accommodate new replacement driveways. And the existing chain link fence, which is located near the Greens and Grounds building, will be eliminated and removed. If there is any future intention to gate off that maintenance area, that would be required for, to come back to the Design Review Board and ultimately to the Zoning Board of Appeals. But as of right now, the proposal is that they're going to remove the green 6-foot-high sliding gate, as well as the post on the opposite side of the drive will be removed as well. Let's see. So there will be a variance if they're going to be reworking any of that 6-foot fencing within the front yard. That would require a variance, first of all, for a 6-foot fence, would require a variance for height, as well as a location within the front yard would also require a variance. The existing maintenance structure will be demolished to allow for the new Greens and Grounds building. The Greens and Grounds building will exceed 14 feet in height. I believe it comes in at closer to 20 feet in height. It is a flat roofed building. It is intended to be a green standing seam metal building with a flat roof. The intention is to have this building completely integrated and camouflaged, if you will, into the vegetation, into the site. The intention is not to draw any attention or any visibility, which is why the proposed material and coloration was chosen specifically. So I just wanted to point that out. So the accessory structure, which is the Greens and Maintenance Building, will require a variance for exceeding 14 feet in height. There is also in the area that is near the pool house, which is currently located to the west side of the main clubhouse. There is a new retaining wall which is going to be added near the driving range to the south of the pool area, which is shown to be up to 6 feet in height. So that would be along the Oak Hills Drive. There is a proposal to add, to rework a stairwell there, which would result in a 6-foot-high retaining wall. So a variance would be required for that as well. In terms of light, noise, and aesthetics of the building, noise, it would be nothing other than noises that would be customarily associated with a country club. Noting that trash pickup cannot occur before 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday in accordance with the provisions of our ordinance. Lighting on site is provided in accordance with our ordinance. They're providing parking lot lights, which will be added to the property not to exceed 20 feet in height. They are also providing some bollard lighting fixtures to assist with pedestrian and vehicular traffic safety, which is incorporated into the overall landscape design, and those bollard lightings are actually going to be closer to the actual clubhouse itself as to not have any negative impact on any adjacent properties. This has been reviewed by our various departments, noting that EEST will require that the applicant submits engineering plans. If in case that the Township Board does approve the site plan and special land use, that would be required. The Fire Department notes in their letter that the Fire Department has reviewed the revised plans with hydrant spacing, fire truck turn radius plan, overhangs and clearances, and no parking and fire lane signage and striping as required, so they have no objections, noting those comments. And then finally, just noting, do we have an elevation of the newly proposed clubhouse? Are we going in the right direction?
Yeah, you're getting there, yes. Yeah. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can do it. You can do a switch on the top. There you go, right there. Thank you. Okay. So really the proposed clubhouse, in speaking with the design team, the intention is to mirror and match the original Oakland Hills Country Club house as it originally stood. The materials itself are going to be consistent of a white poly ash lap siding, so the majority of the building will be white as the previous, Indian buff limestone, split face natural Michigan fieldstone, which will be used along the bottom of the building there, as you can see. There is an addition of a cart tunnel, so that will provide access from the cart storage through the lower level of the clubhouse to allow them to get to the first tee I believe that would be the purpose of it. Me not being a golfer, but I'm logically putting that all together, that makes sense. So those, as you can see, the elevations on the screen. I do want to note that the proposal, they're also proposing, in addition to white fieldstone, white trim boards, white aluminum balusters, white wood railings, dark asphalt shingles, copper standing seam metal roof with copper gutters and downspouts, okay? So I just wanted to give you an idea of the samples of the materials that are being used. As you can hear, they're pretty nice, high-quality materials that would be customarily acceptable in this type of application. Rooftop mechanicals are actually going to be screened within the architectural layout of the building. So there are points in which roof-mounted mechanicals that, thank you, Wade, you read my mind, in which the rooftop mechanicals are actually going to be recessed within the roof, so there will be no visibility to the general public. In accordance with the drawings, there will be a variance that's going to be required. The new clubhouse does exceed 30 feet. It is a single-family residential zoned lot. So the maximum building height will be 44 feet. And our historical records indicate that the former clubhouse measured at about a maximum of 40 feet. So they're going to be asking for 44, so similar to what was previously there. With that, I know we have members of the team. I know that we've got the engineer. We have representation from Oakland Hills themselves, as well as the landscape architect and the design team. So I would love to have them provide their overview and maybe give them a little more detail than I did. And then certainly we can answer any questions if you have any.
Oh, that'd be great.
So the ones I told you about.
Andrea has the clicker, thank you.
Can I advance from
Yeah, you
here
just have
as
to
well?
press that top button.
Sweet. Can I advance slides from this too? No, I don't think so.
Maybe.
I think you have to inch down. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Jim Stock from Newman Smith Architects. We're the architects for the project. With me today is Scott Collins, owner representative. And we also have Mark Russell, landscape architect with PEA Consulting Engineers. We have Jim Butler, civil engineer from PEA Consulting Engineers, and another gentleman you may have seen around here a few times as well, here in support. But have a few additional pieces that we'd like to talk about if possible, getting a little more granular into the presentation. Today, how much time do we have? Do we have a time limit? Because I can go quick.
As long as you answer the board's questions.
Okay.
And
So I'd like to talk about what the existing site plan did, what we're proposing, and then going to the floor plans of the buildings and also the elevations a bit. Back in fall of 2020 or 2022, there was, of course, we had the clubhouse here, we had the training center, the pool building, the lifestyle building, formerly named as First Tee, but we also had the environmental center here, actually two buildings for maintenance, so one for maintenance and one for environmental. And then we get over to the residential structure on the eastern side of the property. And what I wanted to explain is how our proposed layouts of the club of the club and other items on site help with vehicular and pedestrian circulation within the site. And you'll see in green, that was deliveries that occurred through the site all day long. Trash, linens, food delivery. But you can also start to see this magenta line here. This was carts, and carts were always stored underneath this building here. So you can start to see, and then, oh, by the way, people park in this parking lot, they're moving from the club, they're going to pool, they're going to tennis. So we always had this conflict between carts, we had deliveries happening, we had people crossing the site, so that was always a concern of the club itself. Additionally, you also had the valet movement that happened throughout the site. So this is the entrance to the building. Cars would leave here, they'd hang a right onto Maple Road, and then left into that lot north of Maple. So this was something that the club wanted to address as well. So that being said, this is our new site plan, as Andrea and Wade demonstrated. The club here, it's actually, that corner of the building is in the exact same location as it was just over a year ago. So, and as Andrea mentioned, it's really the desire of the club to really replicate what was lost a number of months ago. But also what we've done is we've combined the maintenance pieces that were happening here into one building on the eastern edge of the site. And so, and I'll show you what that started to do. We've removed the carts out of the First Tee building and actually put them underneath the clubhouse building itself. And then what we also did is we isolated, move down one, we actually isolated where deliveries started to happen. So now all deliveries now come into the lifestyle building here, the lower level of the lifestyle building. And you can start to see, so now here's this blue movement that comes in off of Maple to the receiving area of the lifestyle building. We've actually connected these buildings here with an underground tunnel. So we've removed the delivery aspect, the trash aspect from this portion of the site here, eliminating that crossover in terms of vehicular and pedestrian conflict. And this magenta movement you start to see here is members moving from the driving range here through the basement level of the building, coming to grade at this point, and then going to the north course or going on to the south course here. So we've separated these modes of traffic and made the site inherently safer. Additionally, we have addressed this from a valet standpoint. We still have the entrance to the building here. We're actually, instead of turning left into the lot north of Maple Road, we're actually heading down a little farther east and then coming into the valet lot here. But on return, we use this little connection piece here to return cars back to the front entrance. So we've made it safer by limiting how we use Maple Road from a valet standpoint. As Andrea pointed out, this is the perimeter of the site, and it starts to illustrate the fact that, you know, what you have in red happening here and happening here, we're proposing to remove, you know, the barbed wire from that fence. And then you'll also note the fact that we have some areas of fencing noted in blue here, and that's where the club at a future date and time is proposing to do a more decorative fence in those areas. And that decorative fencing, you know, starts to look like this with a flat top, again 6 feet in height, and we've done that for a reason, because, you know, if you start to think about what Oakland Hills is and the level of security that it requires, but also, you know, not only on a day-to-day basis, but also during events as well, it was important for them to have a secure perimeter. And so that's the reason that we went a little taller than what is specified in the ordinance. For example, this is a painted ornamental steel fence. The other pieces that we have here are more commercial. This is a commercial aluminum fence, but we were concerned that this fence had flat tops and bottoms, you know, so just to provide a level of safety as well. So it wouldn't have these spikes. It would just be flat on top, like the one that you see, you know, over on the right hand here. So that's kind of the, you know, when Oakland Hills comes back to you and presents its fencing, you'll start to see products like this. Then I start to get into the floor plans. So north is to your left, and so you can start to see this cart highway that we have through here. So cart storage here, driving range over here in the building. And then we also have a few other function there. You can start to see the tunnel, which goes over to the lifestyle building. So this is where trash would go out. This is where food deliveries would come in. Linens would come in. Employees would come through this tunnel as well into the building. So kind of think of it like Disney. You know, they come across and come on into this tunnel. In addition, here we have staff areas, break rooms, locker rooms. We have a large kitchen on the lower level. Then we start to get into staff areas here, and all the gray is storage and coolers and freezers and things like that. We get into the upper level, and it's very similar to what was there previously. Towards the east, we have the view to the course, of course. Didn't mean to say that. But to the eastern portion of what we call Heritage Hall, we have the social spaces. Off to the left, we have the golf shop. We have the main entrance located here, very similar to what was there previously. We have a large commercial kitchen located in this portion of the project, and then one level of the men's locker room. In that location there, we go upstairs. Again, we have the larger ballroom spaces on the upper level, women's locker room in this location, men's locker room in this location, and then again the event kitchen on the second floor as well. And then just a little picture of the roof. You can start to see these mechanical units that are actually in this depressed well. So all these roof forms surround this area, screening the mechanical units on the roof itself. Just some archival photography showing what was there and what we're trying to replicate. And you'll note the strong aesthetic of the veranda and the columns of which we're replicating. And these are some renderings that we've prepared for you to see as well, and you can start to see the similarities of what was there previously. So this is the view just in the fairway of number 1, looking back towards the clubhouse. This is a view coming up the 18th hole and looking, again, back towards the clubhouse, the veranda that we have here, the patio that we have here, and the entrance to the cart tunnel right in this area here. Again, as Andrea pointed out, the instance of the Michigan fieldstone at the base of the building. This is the front elevation of the buildings. Again, we have a covered porte cochere in this location. And then as you arrive onto site, this is the view you would come as you turn in off of Maple Road. And then we have some more higher resolution renderings that we've made, showing the different materials and the nature of the balustrades and the columns and the level of detail we intend to provide. And then now looking southwest. Elevations that you are familiar with. And then, of course, we get into the building section itself, showing the roof forms that do indeed screen the mechanical units. And that's one of the reasons why the building is taller. We actually had to go a little taller with our roof structure because those units are so large. So now we get into the lifestyle building. North is up on the page. Right now, that was an area of golf club storage. Now that would be turned into a little fitness area with separate men's and women's locker areas. The lower level is now storage and receiving. So you can start to see the tunnel that leads back to the clubhouse itself. We still have the existing paddle court lounge in this location of the building, and these two existing overhead doors there, they would stay, and that's essentially the receiving area for really the campus in this location there. Elevations. So, and if I may go back one slide here. So previously this building had again, another porte cochere, which was actually a structure. But for us to construct this tunnel here, it's actually underneath the foundations of that canopy. So we talked to the membership, and they believe that porte cochere could really go away. And so what we are proposing to do is really just replicate the roof form that happens on this side of the eastern side of the building here. We would simply just mirror that, and so we would kind of replicate what's already there. And you can start to see that in this elevation view here, which is the western elevation, where we're removing these 4 columns and that portion of the roof structure and just making it simple in form. So. Next we have the Greens and Grounds facility, and it's It's basically a large maintenance building, but in the upper left, we have administrative offices for the ground staff. We have staff areas, locker rooms, and break room areas for the ground staff. And then we have storage areas, we have repair areas, and again, environmental area within the building itself. So we've really consolidated those two buildings on site into one building here. Those are the elevations, and as Andrea pointed out, we intend for this to be a background building, and painted Benjamin Moore Essex green, and it's a very dark green, and we're trying to make it recessive so it would really go away and not attract attention to itself. We talked about a section through the building here, but one thing I'd like to clarify and ask, we were a bit unsure of when we were developing this section of where that viewpoint takes place when we're trying to intentionally screen the building. And if I could even zoom in here, see if I can work this. So what we were trying to do is, you can see if I take it near the property line, indeed using an 8-foot high Norway spruce here would screen the building. But we were asked to look at what that view corridor would be from the north side of the road. So that needs a little clarification from you all as well. And then just a summary page of the materials. This is our poly-ash white siding. It's actually thicker than what was on the existing building to give a nicer shadow line. And then again, Indiana limestone, actually true Michigan split fieldstone. And then we get into the decorative trim boards. Again, those are all white in color. The Chippendale railings that we have, asphalt shingles, standing seam metal roof. We tend to not like to use the bright shiny penny, but we'll want to go a little more pre-patinaed on that. Like you can start to see with these copper gutters that you'd have here, and those are just for the lower sloped areas of the roof. We would propose that. And then again, we have the shutters, and then bluestone paving. On the Greens and Grounds facility, that is a corrugated metal panel, vertical metal panel here, again part painted Essex green, and then standing seam for the roof itself. And I think that's it. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions.
Anyone want to start?
I'd be happy to.
Sure.
First of all, the building itself is exquisite. You did an incredible job. It's beautiful, and it's really is something to be very proud of once it's completed. I happen to live over there, so I'm very familiar with the site. So I really don't have any questions about the building.
Okay.
However, I do have questions about the fencing and the landscaping.
Sure.
So I've heard.
That we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, have them pull up the site plan so we can look at it.
Yeah. Go way back here. Do you want me to go into a landscape plan?
Well, we'll get there in a minute, probably.
Okay.
Let's start with the fencing. I've heard
Okay.
twice
Yeah.
that at a future date or in phase 2 regarding the fencing. So what does that actually mean?
That means within 12 months.
12 months of the completion of the building, or 12 months from when?
The start of the building?
I don't know the rate.
Yeah.
What is defined by you guys, within 12 months,
Right.
having a presentation for you to be able to wrap that up.
Right.
Well, I guess,
Yeah.
to put it blunt, when will the new fence be in?
Yeah.
I don't know if
That's
we've
a-
given that a date.
Because I've heard twice with no answer.
Yeah,
It's
right.
been-
Right.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
before the building's.
How many years is it to build the building?
We're looking at that.
Can you come on up?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Familiar
shovel in
face
the
to
ground.
this, to this room.
So third quarter, to answer Leo, your question, third quarter, early fourth quarter of 2025.
Yeah.
Is the anticipated completion of the clubhouse, which at that time the fence would be completed as well.
And when will the barbed wire be coming down?
Before that time frame, certainly.
Prior to the replacement of the fence?
Prior to the, I would say for cleanliness, prior to the completion of the overall project,
Okay. And then,
third quarter of 2025.
and just to reiterate, I know it was stated that the barbed wire will be removed around the perimeter of the south course, so Oak Hills, Oakland, Lazar, and Maple?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, and as you can see in this, this diagram here.
There's supposed to be no barbed wire anywhere.
Oh, the red.
So that would,
Yeah.
just the south course or the north also?
Is there so I always see the south course on my side. I haven't looked at the north. Is there barbed wire on the north course?
I believe on Gilbert Lake Road. Is there on Gilbert Lake Road?
Yeah, there is. That is so covered in vines you can't see it, and this was a south course site plan.
You come on.
I'm sorry, I know.
You know better than anyone.
You're on TV. I can't camera.
Yeah, and this is a south course site plan. There hasn't been an issue on the north course, and especially on Gilbert Lake Road with the traffic there and whatnot. So we weren't addressing the barbed wire on that area.
Okay, and then on the landscaping on Maple Road.
Yeah.
So the Maple Road landscaping, which it sounds, like there's going to be a large number of tree added in replacement. Can you explain why the plantings are on the interior side of the fence rather than on the Maple Road side of the fence?
Absolutely. I'll take a stab at it, but then Mark gets paid the big dollars to answer those questions. It was a matter of space. The sidewalk in some cases gets very close to the fence, and there really wasn't enough room between the fence and the sidewalk to install those plantings.
That fence is being replaced, though, correct?
No, it's existing in the same location, right? Yes,
In that location,
Yep.
just the barbed wire comes off the fence plan.
correct.
Is there any reworking of any fencing along the
Yeah,
road?
that's a concern then. Because I think the assumption was you were putting a pretty fence everywhere, not leaving chain link where, to be honest, to piggyback, when looking at these, this is what the public sees of you. And this is not Oakland Hills. This is a gorgeous facility that you have, but this is what the public sees. So just like you're putting a beautiful fence interior to the community, the expectation would be that you're putting a beautiful fence exterior, like the Maple Road, where most of the world is going to make their assumptions of your facility.
And understood, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it's a new request. Our conversations were removal of the barbed wire at the top of the existing chain link fence.
This is the
That's
first
like-
time, for me, it's my first request, because
yeah.
this is our first time to talk with you about it.
Sure.
But just to
I mean,
to add on to what Danny is stating, that I agree that it's a heavily driven road on Maple. It's one of the heaviest residential type roads in the community, and they see Oakland Hills as it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful building, and the facilities. But the fence is really on Maple Road is certainly not the same quality or caliber as the building that's being built.
Can we look at that as screening from the outer side in areas where there is the property to do so? I think you'll see in there that Michael Duell has a letter that says on the one portion of it, especially up towards the entrance, there just isn't enough room there. But as you go down towards the maintenance building, you will see that the screening there is actually on the outside of the fence, if I believe.
And you don't mean this kind of screening, right? Because you mean actual evergreen screening?
Those were the Norwegian.
Yeah.
They're the spruce.
Those aren't those little 8-footers. You talking about bigger trees?
Well, what we have on the site here,
Okay.
and this is, and Mark, help me with this. This is actually inside the fence.
It's almost all inside this.
It's all inside the fence.
It's kind of what my neighbor did to me. Just so you know, I genuinely haven't spoken to one neighbor in over a decade, because they put up a chain link fence on my side.
Yeah.
And a beautiful fence everywhere where they see, and then they interiorly put their trees. because they know how ugly that chain link fence is.
Gotcha.
So they never see it, and I have genuinely not, I can't even look in their direction of their house.
Sure,
So
sure.
that's how,
Yeah.
obviously you guys know it's not attractive because you're trying to block it from your view.
Building.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the proposed arborvitae's,
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of where they end up, I mean, we propose them on the inside. It's a feathery plant material. You all know what arborvitae's look like.
Yep.
I think it's going to screen the fence, right? It's going to grow into the fence
No.
and become with it.
This is over 15 years I've watched the arborvitae's not grow into the fence on my yard that my neighbor did. I mean, I literally live with it every day. It's super ugly.
I understand. The-
It's ugly.
The specific species that we've selected will do that. It's not your standard emerald green arborvitae. It's a green giant variety called
Feathery type, yeah.
steeplechase.
Yep.
The reason we chose steeplechase instead of the green giant was that it would stay within the meets and bounds between the fence and the curb, rather than the larger green giant would encroach beyond the curb, and therefore become a little bit of a maintenance problem.
Can you clarify for the board where the fence line is located in relationship to the property line? Is it directly on it?
It's that dash line that you see just, can
Yeah,
you see
it's-
that?
yeah, it's right there.
It's that dash line is the
To the
fence
north.
line.
Right.
And then it jumps up.
Right, yeah, that's the
Because
property
the
line.
property line increases there, the
Yeah.
property depth. So the Norway spruce, which are a much larger tree, 60 feet probably in the maturity of the height, are planted on the inside of the fence. And we just don't have the room on the outside of the fence because of the right-of-way line and the proximity to the existing sidewalk.
If you left the existing chain link. But if you were to replace that fence and make it beautiful like everywhere else that you're putting fence, you could move that fence in a little bit and put your plantings on the outside.
I'm not going to say we can't, because I think that, you know, as Leo mentioned, the consultant, Michael Dewell, we just don't have enough room to make a consistent treatment of that hedge between this driveway you see on your screen heading to the west toward the bridge.
Yeah, you can see here that, you know, we do have room, right? But when I...
Where's
when
the
I-
property line? Can you say it, will you show that again?
What's that?
Will you show that again where the property line is and the fence? That's the
right there.
fence, right there. Where-
Yeah.
The fence is the lower.
The fence is
You can
right
move
there.
it into
And
the
above it, a
property
little
line.
Okay.
Correct.
That's the fence.
All over the place.
Yeah, with that
That's
symbol
what I'm
with
saying,
the X
replace
in
the
it.
fence
Yeah.
completely.
Or just make an
That's
architectural.
what I understood. I believe the fence is essentially right on the property line.
As long as the,
Yeah.
Yep.
that's like the one's going to be, that's
Right.
on my road.
Yeah, as long as it was in a chain link, maybe.
Right.
Well,
So if,
from my standpoint,
You
I...
can see, just to go further, heading to the west,
Yeah.
you can see how the sidewalk starts to encroach
Right
or
there.
become a little closer to the fence.
and maybe if it wasn't chain link, like trustee Barnett just said, if it was a decorative fence, you wouldn't mind seeing it, but it's a chain link. So it is literally the one eyesore of your gorgeous facility, and it's the only, so another representative has mentioned, most of the world sees the eyesore, not the gorgeousness of your entire site. You've done a fabulous job. I mean, it's gorgeous, but all they'll see is a chain link fence. That's what the impression is, and you deserve a better impression than that.
And so does the community.
So does the community.
And the other thing, if I could just add to this, besides the design review board, the planning commission will hear this, and I'm a member of the planning commission, so I know the people on there,
Yeah.
and they're going to be, I think it's going to be a very serious concern for them. In fact, I'd be very surprised if it's not.
Okay, we'll be prepared.
Let me ask you a question, just to give us food for thought. If we just removed the fence and put the plantings all along there, as well as on Lasher Road, and did not have a fence, would that suffice?
With that security, would
Well,
that be?
That would suffice for me.
I was gonna say, that's great.
And that's why I say food for thought, because I don't know if the board will go along with that. And just to replace the sections within the residential neighborhood is about $1.1 million.
It's a lot,
So it's going to be more than that in this area here. So I don't know what the flavor of the board would be, so we'd like to give them several options going back based on your recommendation that A, if it's all right with you, we don't have a problem with no fence, and put all the screening that you need to there, or B, if you want the fence, then you replace the fence with a decorative fence and do it in conjunction with Michael Duell's recommendation and ours, either inside or outside, what works best there.
I would agree with both those suggestions, by the way. They're on my list. I wrote them down, so.
Yeah, my only
if there's no
concerns are
fence, I'm
literally
fine.
fencing and shrubbery.
Yeah, and I
You've
think,
done everything else
I think those are
beautifully.
both very good options, because
Yeah.
I have the same notes
Yeah.
here. Not on the, you're talking just about Lazar and Maple, correct?
For, correct, no fence, you mean?
Yes.
Just, right.
I think you just meant Maple.
Maple.
Just Maple, I think.
Maple.
The intent of the 12-month to 18-month was that we have to internally figure out what the plan is from a.
No, let me, maybe I didn't communicate it properly. Leo, when you were talking about options, were you speaking just about Maple Road?
Maple and Lasher.
Okay, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just
Yeah.
Maple.
Okay. Got it.
I made a mistake.
Got it.
If you were to go no fence, you'd carry that into Oak Hill and. Sure. I mean, if the decision of the board of Oakland Hills was we didn't need a fence, that could carry out throughout. I can't answer that question today.
You know, one of the problems, just, and you probably don't know about it, is we just had damage to two of our greens from vandalism about a month ago over on the north course, just prior to the Rocket.
Oh, just
down
like
in
Detroit Golf Club
Right,
did.
you know that.
Yeah.
They went in and severely damaged one of the greens there. We haven't really had a problem, but part of it is because it's difficult to get in there. And we realize the sensitivity of the fencing within the neighborhood. And as Mark said, the plantings that we designed there was so that it would grow into the fence. And in fact, when you take a look at where the parking lot is over by the tennis courts, those plantings have completely grown in. And the only reason you have that one space there is because that section of fence was taken out, I believe, during the PGA Championship, and it just never grew back in the same manner that was already there. So we really think the plantings would suffice, grow into it and hide it, but and I know the planning commission is going to have an issue. If we have to address it, I think we've got our marching orders one of two ways: no fence at all, and that would be no fence within the neighborhood, if that is acceptable to the neighborhood association, and or the fencing, decorative fencing all the way around, if that's what we need to do.
Do you, just so I know too, when you say that one area that didn't grow in, you mean the area where there's like this, like kind of ragged screening as opposed to, is that the area you mean didn't grow back in?
No, this is further east. I'm talking about up by the pool area.
Somebody, I don't know who gave these.
I don't think
but we
those are
have these.
pictures of the pool area.
Yeah.
Don't go that far.
It is pretty good up there, except for
Those are really just along Maple Road from the entrance east.
Took them, right, you know,
Oh, okay.
Andrea took them, but.
Because the vegetation, Leo is right, I mean, some of it's deciduous, but the vegetation from Oak Hills to the main entrance is pretty dense. I think that's the area you're referring
Yeah,
to.
and
I'd say it is,
that
but
was
it's
what
also pretty full of invasive species and not really well maintained right now.
not that section. The further section further to
Can you
the,
show, I'm
side.
totally not connected to where we're talking right now. Can we use a pointer? Because I think we're all talking different ones.
Yeah, the section right in front of the
Back
pool,
up.
okay.
Yep, I'm gonna go
I'm a
back
visual
up.
learner. I need a pointer.
Yeah. So here you go, Mark. Yeah.
But there's an existing hedge. Where's my?
yeah, you started, yeah.
Upper left, yeah.
Yeah, there's an existing hedge right here that goes all along the frontage and stops at this point right
So
here.
which of these pictures?
Now, that was the hedge in the, or the comments from the planning
Maple.
commission, or from
Yeah,
Patty.
it's all-
And I think Andrea was also, there are some,
East of.
Yeah.
there
this
are some
picture.
shrubs missing along here that we'll replace in kind.
Yes.
Same species, same height, assuming we can get them to the full height. If not, we can do some maintenance to make it look like it's more uniform.
Yeah, so those pictures that you have don't reflect that area, and
Okay.
that's
right.
that is pretty good. In fact, it's very good. There's nothing but the shrub there.
Other side of the entrance, I think, where it
Yeah, I
gets a
think
little...
this is the
Exactly, that's
concern.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
yeah, it's the,
And that is an
East
area
side of the entrance.
that's inside the fence. That hedge is actually inside the fence as well, just to give you
Right.
a visual.
and that might be why they didn't see the other side of the fence, needed a little bit of care. But it is such a gorgeous facility that it would make sense to make your primary view to most of the world will be that Maple Road.
Consistent.
And what you've done inside is amazing. It looks beautiful. You've done a great job adhering to keeping your tradition, and I agree. You actually point out something I was going to. I'm okay with it going higher because the reason you went higher was to screen all of that. So what you did made just so much sense. And my only questions literally were fence, 8 feet not tall enough, masonry, is it blocked? It's literally just the fence and the screening.
And if you
So-
go with the fencing, if that
Yeah.
turns out to be the decision, the taller fence with the points on top, whatever, understood, and it's beautiful. and
There
it
wouldn't be
meets-
points.
No point.
Why not?
There have been so many deer.
Hey, I understand. I've seen those, yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
a pretty
horrible.
sight.
Yeah.
Whatever, 6 feet is certainly understandable, so.
Yeah, that made sense too.
That's another reason for the arborvitae selection, is that the deer don't really like that particular
Right.
species.
Right.
So I have two other questions, if you're done.
Just one, and
Sorry, go
maybe it's similar. Going back to, if we can go to the Greens building and the landscaping on that. I know you're making the effort with the color of it so it blends in. With the landscaping, how successful is it going to be in screening it from maple?
Meaning like,
Landscaping for the
The
Greens
Norway
building.
spruce?
do you mean by putting in 8-footers versus putting in at the level it would?
Well, in other words,
go in?
are you going to see the building from maple once the plantings are in and they're...
Well, I think
and
as
they're-
depicted in the section, you will not see it when you're heading eastbound.
Mm-hmm.
If you're walking on the north side of Maple heading westbound, assuming you're turning yourself around, you may be able to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But in time, we're using a very conservative growth rate of 2 feet in the section. And, in all the literature that I've been accustomed to, really it's 2 or 3 feet in height. So, but we wanted to be conservative with the 2 feet. So, in due time, you're going to get a tree in 10 years, it's going to grow, however, 20 feet tall, 20 feet plus the 8 feet. So you'll have a 28-foot tall.
And in 3 years, you'll get the 14 feet that
Well,
on the,
In 10 years, you're going to get a
The
plant
height of
as
the
high as
height of the building, okay.
Yeah.
May I ask a question piggybacking on that is, again, knowing your Oakland Hills, and you have when you see this thing and you see a tiny tree, like there's a house, trying to think of Wellington Road in Franklin, it was impressive, not only was the house, but their landscaping. They didn't put in 8 foot, they put in very large trees that still had to grow a little, but it wasn't 8 foot, it wasn't 25 foot, it was kind of in the middle, and it immediately made a statement, and it looks like they've been there forever, they didn't have to wait 10 years to fit in. You're Oakland Hills. It's amazing. Do you really want to wait 10 years to fit in versus saying we're Oakland
I
Hills?
think he spoke incorrectly on the 10
Okay.
years.
Realistically, 8 feet super short for that.
That building is going to be, and I appreciate the concern, that building is going to be the first start of the project, and we're going to start that landscaping when that building is done, and everything else is a year and a half. So by the time that it gets fully completed and look at it, those ones will be 10, 11 feet a year and a half later. And you won't, and with the amount of them that are there, it is going to be so thick, you will not be able to see it.
I'm sorry, I
No,
cut you off.
no,
Keep
that's fine.
going.
No, Martin?
Okay, I have two other questions. The Norway spruce, which I have several planted in my yard, sort of as a divider.
Can we have them?
Well, they're now much larger than 8. They're now much larger than 8
We only
feet.
need 41.
Right. I think I only have 6. But they're much larger than 8 feet now, and they do grow very fast. And they also spread a lot. Are these going to be in a line, or are they going to be staggered?
Well, right now, we've shown them in a line. I mean, we're happy to stagger them,
You
certainly.
might get actually better results.
I mean, you
with
may.
growth and-
I do think that we.
No, I'm not the expert, obviously.
We'd end up probably adding more, quite honestly, because of the triangulation.
Yeah,
But, that's
for the
something
full
we could
screening
certainly look
effect.
at.
Yeah. Because they may last longer, just from my observation in my own yard in the last 6 years, they've spread as much as they've grown up. I mean, they're really regressive growth.
Horticulturally, trees in general have a better luck at survival if they're smaller. Particularly in this area or in Michigan, where we have such heavy soils. So that's something to consider as well. The triangulation of them, or the larger trees, if you triangulate a larger tree, you've got to space it further apart.
Right.
To maintain that safe distance. They're going to grow 25, 30 feet in diameter, these trees. So, we have to be cognizant of that horticulturally to make sure that we're doing the right thing from a sustainability standpoint.
And these trees, I selected them because I was advised that they are disease, there's a disease going around these days. These are disease resistant to some of the
As of now.
as of now. There's a lot of other evergreen trees that are
Well, you've got all
really
kinds of
struggling.
stuff going on with a whole bunch of different species. But yeah, I think honestly, with the maintenance and care that the Greens and Grounds building have and the experience and knowledge of these folks, they're going to take the ultimate care of these trees.
And at the end of the day, I think if you take a look at the very last statement that we put, is that we would work with planning, building, and ordinance to whatever their requirements were, even if we have to modify from what we're doing here. If they say they want this, they want that, that we'll acquiesce and do the things that they want.
That's
So-
great to hear.
That's perfect, yeah. Right. So,
Good point.
then another question.
Right from those numbers.
Well, you all have worked well together, because to get to this point this quickly,
Amazing.
that is pretty darn amazing. There are houses that don't get there this quickly. You have done an amazing
would know
job, and
that?
you have worked together great. That's why I didn't have any questions except for fence and screening, because you have put meticulous thoughts into what you're building, and that shows. We just want to make sure the rest of the world that won't be graced inside understands what you've done.
So two last questions.
Yes, sir.
So one is, of the grounds building, the north west side, are those plantings that are there?
They are, yes.
Okay, so that will screen just even from the driveway?
That's correct.
Yeah.
What type of
it's
plantings?
Viburnum, grows
Okay.
about 6 feet, 6.5 feet tall.
Okay, great. That's a great addition, thoughtful, thank you. And then lastly, way at the front entrance, there's a clump of trees that are sort of between the bridge and the entrance that I believe are being taken out.
Yeah, actually, that's the plan right
they are,
there,
right
to the
there.
right,
Yep.
those trees.
Let me
Yeah,
scroll.
what's happening to replace
guys right
those?
No, those trees will remain.
Yep.
Okay, good. There's
Yeah,
a photograph.
What we're
Okay.
showing there is that there's a protective fence around them. Tree protection fence.
Okay, I just thought I looked at the designs yesterday and
Yeah.
saw that trees were being removed there.
There's no trees removed there? Okay.
No?
Not here.
I mean,
Okay.
I think because of the driveway coming in from the valet, there's a few that have to be removed as a
Yeah,
result of
right there
that.
here.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
also, just to the east of the bridge, I know there's a few.
Yeah.
To get to the service drive-in.
That's right.
Can you talk really quick, just because I know the question came up about that retaining wall, the actually right in that location?
Sorry, for which one?
The question of the retaining wall and the grade change and any visibility?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
And so what we wanted to do is, notice there's
Well,
four
he wanted to
refuge
put a
containers
grass
that
on
happen
top
here.
of it.
And so, and you can
Not
start to
gonna
see the
get the roof line.
contours, how it is taller here and it starts to slope
Screen as
down.
much as possible.
And
That's why I was
so
asking.
we had to, in order to
I-
be able to get, access into
quickly
the lower level of the lifestyle building for deliveries and things, and being able to screen the dumpsters that are there, we had to create a retaining wall. So that's
Yes,
the
I agree.
idea of that retaining wall, not only to retain earth because of slope and grade, but also to screen from Maple Road.
Sure.
Because we wanted to screen the dumpsters, we wanted to screen any delivery vehicles that were, in that little receiving area there. So that's the purpose of that
And
retaining wall.
in reality,
Yeah.
that retaining wall really is there already today. It just
It-
happens to be the foundation of the building.
Yes.
Right, right.
Where it's a walkout at that section.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
not going to be any more invasive than
Right.
what's already there.
Right.
Thanks.
There's
And
actually,
if I could- oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's actually two other things come to mind.
Sure.
I was there earlier today and noticed a good amount of lawn and cart traffic on the safety path, going between the buildings and crossing the buildings. Is the interior road, and maintenance building going to be sufficient? So, I mean, I don't think they should be really driving on the
It's actually not
safety
allowed.
path. So, I do notice that there's more interior road planned. Is that going to handle that traffic now? Because I was there for a little while today, and it was a zoom, 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 zoom all over the safety path.
It's if you're referring to this road that parallels
Yeah.
Maple, that's now a 26-foot wide fire
Okay.
lane. So it's
Okay, good.
significantly wider.
Great, because it appeared blocked,
Yeah.
because a lot of the fabric on the fence is dilapidated, so I could see through there, and it appeared blocked by lawn vehicles that were parked there, which may explain why they're driving up and down on the
Yeah, they normally
safety path.
shouldn't be.
Okay.
I don't,
Yeah, they
I don't
shouldn't.
notice them, and I'm over there all the time. I don't notice them using the safety path, and maybe what it is people going to the Hayner house, which you have to get it to external, and we can tell them to make it internal and come in the back way.
Yeah, perfect. And then where's the employee parking? I know where they're coming in and then kind of using the tunnel, but where's the employee parking, and how, are they crossing Maple?
Over on the north side, and one of the things that we've done is had discussions with the RCOC in regards to installing the Hawk system there, that they've given the green light there so that there are crossing flashing warnings for if and when people are crossing over to Maple Road. But the employees themselves, they park on the north side, walk up and use the bridge to come across.
Yeah, that's safe.
Okay, but in the future, the plan, I guess, would be this crosswalk with,
That's for the groundspeople that are coming out of, going back and forth to the north and south course in their daily maintenance of the golf course.
okay, great, thanks.
Questions?
That's it.
All right. So then, if there are no more questions, I think you've heard kind of what we're thinking on fences and
I
screening.
explained to them that this is a dress rehearsal for the township board.
Right.
And,
Especially because we got three of us right here. At least how happy are you to know the buildings didn't need any questions, because
There you
they're
go.
fabulous. Right?
No,
You're already
The
there.
buildings look, it's really beautiful, and as I mentioned before, you should all take great pleasure and pride in what you're presenting. The building's magnificent. It is deserving of the Oakland Hills name on it. It's that beautiful. And as you've heard from us, it's the exterior that we're concerned about, the landscaping and the fencing. Again, for the reasons that it's such a beautiful building, it's an icon. It's an important part of the Metro Detroit area and, of course, Bloomfield Township. We just want to make sure that people walking by or driving by have the same impression and the same sense of beauty from the fencing and the landscaping.
Thank you. Well, we had a good head start previously, so.
Hey, you luckily have a good liaison who knows both sides, too, over there. You're like a
Thank you.
translator. Bilingual. So then, do we have a motion regarding the site plan? Anybody
Well, with
feel like-
regard to the open item, which was the fence, no fence, or screening on the outside,
You could link
we
it
don't
to
need
the
to see it,
motion.
do we need to see it again here, or we just put that in the motion? And next
you
next
link
stop is what, planning commission or ZBA?
Point, we addressed it as the 12-month was so that we could vet out this conversation and ultimately return on the final
Maybe come back to the
delivery
DRB.
for just that particular item, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but you have to be careful because
Yeah,
ideally,
we don't wanna
ideally,
hold
we
up.
don't want that to hold up on the,
Right.
so I think with the motion, either replace all of the chain link fencing with a decorative fence, or not use fencing at all and use whatever type of screening that is appropriate instead.
This is scheduled to go
Yes.
before the planning commission on Monday.
Yes, so,
You can add
if,
anything you want. yeah.
yes, we could, I mean, I support, I think I heard the others support the idea of those two options, either one being fine. Of course, subject to what the planning, ZBA, and township board does, but
I can support that.
So motion would be to approve as submitted, subject to either no fencing or decorative fencing, similar to what's already been proposed
Around the perimeter.
around the perimeter.
Do you think the height needs to change at all on the other one, or you think he's okay with that?
For the
Those
fencing.
8-foot ones? No, the Norways.
8-foot
Or
Norway
in
spruce.
front of that other building.
Yeah, and then if you could amend that for the 8-foot Norways to go a little taller, 10 feet, 12 feet, whatever, just start taller than 8 feet.
Right, and then also subject to a
We don't have to start at, we don't have to
Another
start at
future
20,
board
but
member.
landscape plan.
Thinking of
that-
other people you'll be facing on other committees, I would highly suggest that that be added to the motion.
take, then we can take that one, we can take some of these issues off the table.
Yeah, then you won't have to address it later. We're just giving you some insider
what's that?
trading, I guess. I shouldn't say that on a microphone.
I would finish the motion, and landscape plan with 10-foot
Can we go
Norway
10 feet,
spruce.
because they sell them 8 to 10 feet, and we'll get them.
That's how they're sold in the nurseries, 8 to 10 feet.
So 10 to
Should
12.
we do 12, 10 to 12? Because you can't buy the 8 to 10. I know where you're going, and I love it. That's quite a salesman, but we'll go 10 to 12.
10 to 12.
10 to 12 landscape plan that shows the full screening of the building.
Yeah, a minimum 10 foot when installed.
Okay.
Just to-
Okay.
Can do.
Support.
So we have a motion by Clerk Brooks, support by Trustee Barnett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
It is truly beautiful.
Yeah, give the landscape a chance.
You know what? You scored some points with some
Just want to give it a pass.
Wait, Andrea, we haven't closed the meeting. Andrea, we haven't adjourned. She's all excited.
We're almost there.
So do we have any other recent design review board meeting information?
No?
No?
We do not.
All right, so then I would say that our next meeting date is Wednesday, August 16th. And with that, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Motion by Clerk Brooks.
Support.
Support by Trustee Barnett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We are now adjourned.